team, thanks for coming today. Today is our last meeting before the final presentation. Last meeting we agreed to the format of the presentation. We agreed to focus on the framework of the presentation itself, which basically culminated itself in focusing on the Bonedale Business Academy project, where we sought out to understand what entrepreneurialism looks like in the Valley and what resources in the Valley exist to support it. As we discussed, the plan for a presentation is going to be some sort of PowerPoint where we can go through and talk about the various interviews that we conducted and the various research that we did to make our conclusions about what entrepreneurialism looks like. We talked to business owners, we talked to chambers of commerce, nonprofits, etc. Those are the people that we need to summarize our findings from. So today, let's finalize those details and let's talk about what exactly this looks like.
Hey, Chris, hang on just a second. Just a second, Professor. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't mean to railroad us here right off the get-go. I just want to say something really quick. I don't want us to go off on a tangent because God knows certain members of this team have a proclivity for doing that. I won't name any names, but let's just say I'm looking around the table and I'm reflecting on the said unnamed. Look, I'm really proud of what we put together as a civic project, and I'm eager to talk about it, and I know that as a team we already decided on a presentation. And I wonder if we wouldn't be remiss, though, if we didn't briefly touch on some of the idiosyncrasies of our decision-making process and how they influence our final project presentation. I mean, I, for one, know that my contribution to the civic project was significantly affected by this adoption. Part of the experience of Roaring Fork leadership has been intentionally put ourselves in uncomfortable situations if those situations precipitate growth. I would remind us how we arrived at our decision making ended up being a huge part of both our discomfort and our growth. I think it deserves some mention before we really get into it. Remember at our first team meeting, we went through that exercise about the 7 different types of decision making, and in the end, as a team, we landed on decision by consensus as our default decision making method. But if you guys recall, I pointed out that we reached consensus, choosing consensus, as our team decision making, but that presumed we already had a decision making method in place. Otherwise, how would we have decided on that? But technically, we never chose consensus as the decision making method prior to that, making choices, including the choice of making a choice on which decision making method to choose. And so it went on and on and on ad nauseum, kind of like I tend to do. But that conversation is part of what led us as a team to go, well, in that case, maybe we got to try out all of the decision-making methods and see how they affect us as a team. In fact, we even added that to our rules of engagement. And I got to say, in my book, the first and maybe paramount uncomfortable situation we put ourselves in was taking a risk and considering the decision not, at least not exactly, to follow the direction our sponsor laid out for us about our project. And this led to some very different experiences while we investigated entrepreneurialism. And for me, one of those different experiences was feeling kind of demoralized, if you guys remember, after doing my part conducting our small business owner interviews for the Civic project, because I came away with the general assessment that what I was hearing from stakeholders was actually the antithesis of what our sponsor hoped that we'd find. So while you guys told me after the session with Stephen Hartnett and Lisa Kiernan that you viewed me as mostly a preacher of hope, I really saw myself after this as a prophet of doom. And furthermore, actually I was regretting our decision about going down that path. And maybe we should have just done what we were told, or maybe advised is a better word. But then I came back to the Marcel Proust quote that Pam Parsky shared with us in our October session, which was that the real world of discovery is not finding new landscapes, but it's finding new eyes. And after our team meeting where we talked about the research from a new perspective, you guys convinced me there was no one right answer out there to find for our project. In fact, from a certain point of view, what I learned is that what we discovered as a team was maybe even more important than what we initially set out hoping to find. So I'm just wondering if we could incorporate some of that into our final presentation. Oh, and one more thing. I still think we've got time to work in a taco truck into our final. What do you think?
No on the taco truck. But Jason, I mean, come on, man. This is the last minute.
Well, I think Jason
We agreed.
has a great idea. I have some ideas on this decision-making process. The decision by minority method was the most impactful for me. It put me on the spot to be the first one to make a call out to one of our stakeholders, and I mean, I was frightened to do this. At first, I wanted to back out, thinking this was a poor choice to put me to the task. I kept on focusing on the fact that I'm not a salesperson, thinking this was going to make me fail. I didn't think I would be able to accomplish what needed to be accomplished for the team. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to ask the right questions, that I couldn't come up with appropriate questions based on his responses, and that I would just let this team down. But I realized that this had to be done, especially for my own personal growth. And after thinking on it some time, I realized how valuable it was to work through my fears and get out of my comfort zone and just take this opportunity to learn from the experience. The effective communication session came just in time for this task. From Maureen's lessons, I really took to heart, how do I want to show up? Who do I want to be in this conversation? And it helped me reflect on being a calm and curious person during my interview. In the end, I spoke with my stakeholder for twice the amount of time that I intended, and I found that I truly enjoyed that time. I learned a great deal. I made a good connection with someone that I didn't previously know, and I felt overwhelmingly accomplished by facing these fears. And I came out feeling very energized. You know, the best part was being able to apply that experience and the lesson to a real world situation. I had an upset employee come into my office one time, and she came in with high emotions. Unprepared, I felt my emotions start to rise with the situation as well. But I caught myself and I asked, who do you want to be in this conversation? And I was able to calm both myself and the employee down and turn that conversation into a positive one. I don't think I would have come out of my shell as much as I did if it wasn't for this decision-making method. The inclusivity was encouraging, and I gained useful leadership experience and skills by being given this opportunity to come forward. And I really think that we need to include this into our final presentation.
Well, once again, guys, we're deviating from the plan. Those are some great takeaways. Obviously, great takeaways.
Chris, I'll give you a strong takeaway. The decision-making activity that we did that I felt was most impactful for me, that I really think we should include in this, was the decision by authority with and without discussion. So you ready? Let me take you on a tour here. So in my job, we have a lot of decisions that have to happen on like split-second decisions, and you have to have it very quickly. There's not a lot of time to discuss. And sometimes there's a lot of time to discuss, but people do whatever they want anyway. And it's really frustrating for that matter. But I think it was really helpful for me to see both aspects of that. Do you guys remember when we had the decision-making by authority without discussion, and we had to wear red shirts? We were just told, wear red shirts. And so I didn't have to think about it, I just had to figure out where to find a red shirt. So that was really easy in a sense, and I had no baggage that was associated with that. So there's a time and place for that. And then when we did the decision by authority with discussion, when we chose our team name, Team Fourscore, man, that sucked, because we were talking about that for 2 weeks, I think, trying to come up with, what name should we, what's the badass name, what's the cool name, what's the politically correct name, all sorts of stuff. And, finally it just came down, the fire was coming and we had to make a decision, and it really sucked because, obviously everyone had to put a lot into what they had presented, and I had to make this decision, and I feel like hurt people's feelings and whatnot. So it was really great to kind of see that aspect of it. But you know, I feel like that was the most impactful part of our journey, well, my journey, and ours too, because of the name. It's how we came up with our name. So I think we should include that in our final presentation. Yeah, what do you think?
Oh. Well, those are some interesting thoughts, Richie. I don't know. You know, once again, here we are, 11th hour, and we're changing the plan. Not sure what to say. You know, we had a plan, we had the PowerPoint idea. You know, that's where we were headed.
But I have to jump in for a moment because I just want to say, first off, I am so happy that we are all meeting in person, unlike Zoom. So this is helping me out so much with my active listening, which is one of my goals. All the Zoom calls have made me realize how easily distracted I am. Hence, I have a cat in the background. So, but moving on, I have always considered myself to be more of a follower than a leader. I would always step back and let others take charge and share their thoughts while holding back my own. Having to lead a 3 to 4 hour long meeting and being a part of RFL has helped me boost my confidence and helped me realize that I do have a voice and I am able to take charge when necessary. The feedback given to me and the encouraging the heart assignment really helped me to realize that my greatest asset in the team is to help encourage them and help move them along when they are struggling. I didn't really know much about facilitating before RFL, but my teammates helped me to realize that I excel in it, especially timekeeping. As Jason says, our best decisions are the timely ones. Yeah, that's his direct quote, yeah. I have opened up more, and I have worked on asking for help, which was also one of my goals. The agenda that I had written out for my meeting included a large section about the brochure that we were going to do, supposedly. However, after some discussion during the meeting, we decided to scrap that plan and go a different direction. And of course, I was very sidetracked, and I was like, what? But, yeah, that was really fun. So, I was definitely thrown off guard because what I had written down was now irrelevant, and thanks a lot, you guys, for that. However, despite this, I kept the team meeting going and focused on other sections of the agenda that could be covered. I really learned to keep in mind when reading that not everything goes according to plan, so you better hold on for the ride, expect the unexpected, and also don't always rely on the agenda. Just like I'm relying on this piece of paper right now. Before RFL, I had no idea that emotional intelligence was a concept. The EQ exercises taught me so much about myself. I learned that my strengths are interpersonal communication, while my weaknesses are self-expression and decision-making. Improving on these areas has made me more of a conscious leader. In the meeting that I led, everyone here was talking about the decision making. We voted for our next meeting location using the decision by majority vote method. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. You know, it's the overrated one that everyone knows all about. Yeah, everyone knows that one. And there's nothing else to add here. I think we should incorporate that into the final presentation.
I mean, some more great ideas there, Amy. You know, I don't know where we stand.
Oh, wait a minute, Chris. Wait a minute. Liesl couldn't be here today. So, but she wanted to make sure that we didn't forget to talk about the decision-making by average process, which we implemented at the April session, our last in-person meeting. While she felt it was inclusive and an effective way to make a decision, such as getting Jason to present to the main group, she felt it was cumbersome and didn't allow for discussion why each person voted the way they did. It felt impersonal and left the person chosen to present wondering why the votes pointed to them. While it may be good for some situations, it's not great for team building. One other piece she gained from the 10 months of being at the academy would be to lean into the understanding of the DISC profiles, a personal assessment tool of a person's behaviors and what motivates and engages different types of people based on personality types. It was instrumental for her when it came to showing up at work and the leadership role she wants and supporting other leaders. She used this tool to allow her to improve teamwork and productivity, as well as pinpoint up-and-coming leaders at work. Also to show the importance of knowing how to fuel the drive for ourselves as well as future leaders to ensure that they are supported. She felt that better communication led to better teamwork, and better teamwork led to, well, who knows what it could lead to. And she thinks that this needs to be incorporated into our final presentation.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, some more powerful points there, but at this point I'm going to call Andrea.
Well, I'm going to have to stop you right because I got something to add too. I really want to remind us about the decision-making by expert method that we used at our last meeting at the Capitol Creek Brewery. Remember that time we couldn't decide on what the hell we were going to do with our project? We had spent months going out, talking to all these stakeholders all over the valley. We talked to people at the Small Business Development Center, the Glenwood Workforce Center, COVENTURE, CMC. We talked to business owners like Richard Rosenfeld at Two Leaves in a Bud, Amy Mays at Hand Makery, and Brian After at Independence Run and Hike. We did all this research into statistics as to how the hospitality industry was greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We looked at even Pickens County had the highest rate of unemployment at one time during that pandemic. We had all this wonderful data that we spent months going over, and we didn't know what to do with it. We didn't know how to give this to our project sponsor. And even Amy brought up that at one time we were going to do a brochure, but then we really didn't think a brochure would do our project justice with all of the information that we had. So somehow I got surprised with the decision making by expert, and since I own a business, they felt that I was expert enough to make the decision on what to do with the project deliverable. So with all that in mind, we said, you know what, we're going to do a report and incorporate all of the perspectives from all these different stakeholders and even our own experiences into this report. And we came up with a 33-page report. We delivered it to our project sponsor, Evan. And turns out he loved it. He's going to publish it through the Aspen Institute, and we're even trying to get it submitted into local papers. So I think that should be incorporated into our final presentation.
I'll share.
Andrew, I think you're closer to where we set out to do here today, but really, guys, this is 11th hour. I don't know where we stand. We made a plan, and now it sounds like we're further away than where we started. We focused today on trying to finish this thing, but I think we're as far as behind as we could be. I'm disappointed.
You never said that.
You know what, though? Now that I think about it, maybe a boring presentation using PowerPoint isn't what we want to do with the project. Maybe that doesn't capture the full experience that we went through here. I think it's abundantly clear that the true outcome of the project for the team was our own personal growth that came from putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations, working with this diverse team, and reminding ourselves of the true goal of this program. More specific, some of these methods, but I think in some cases, we increased our efficiency by forcing ourselves to make quick decisions, as opposed to trying to seek to reach a unanimous one every time. You know, I think it's very clear that whether we planned it or not, we gained a lot through that process. Now, I personally struggle with some of these methods because my natural habit and part of my profession is to make very quick decisions on my own. Being forced to let others be part of that is definitely uncomfortable for me, and I know others in this team. But we have to remember the importance of working with a team, involving everybody here, and also taking advantage of all of our strengths. You know, really, all of this has reminded me of how important it is to remember why we are part of this program, which is to grow as leaders and impact our community any way we can. For the longest time, I was focused on tasks associated with project research and trying to check all of our sponsors' boxes, but you know, combined with the process established by RFL, you know, it was just a loose set of guidelines to get our team to work together and create our own opportunity for growth. I think we achieved it. For me, balancing our desire to produce something tangible for Evan and maintaining our focus on ourselves was the biggest challenge of this program, and puts a different perspective on everyday skills like time management and establishing priorities. I think our experimentation with the various decision-making methods really assisted us with this and pushed us away from our tendency to overthink things, which looks like is what we're doing right now. You know, to wrap it up, I guess, you know, despite our best efforts, maybe that's what we've done here today. We've overthought it and sent ourselves down the wrong path. But on the other hand, maybe each of us just defined what we really need to share with RFL. I think today's discussion and our decision-making practices show the personal growth that we need to display to the program. Before we do that, though, let's take a look at whether we met our goal originally to have this project outcome be aligned with the SMART goals. Jason, what do you think? Was our project outcome specific?
Specific? Yeah, it was specific.
Okay, Misty, what about, was it measurable?
Yes, it was measurable.
Okay. Richie, how about achievable?
Hell yeah, it was.
Amy, how about relevant?
Yeah.
All right, that leaves one. Andrew, time bound?
You bet it is.
Okay, well, I think we finally have a plan. Let's stick to it.
Thank you for coming.